Welcome to the Brass and Woodwind Shop. A lot of people wonder if they should spend the money on a magnetic dent removal system. This system works well on some dents, but not on others, so I hope this video will help you decide if you should buy one or not. This is not a sponsored video, I am just doing this video, so I will tell you what I think and you can decide. If you want to see a video of me using this, look in the description below for a link to that video. If any of you have experience with a magnetic dent removal system, please leave a comment, and also read the comments so you can see what other people have to say about this. I am not going to give you any prices of the equipment because prices can change, but I will leave a link to this company in the description below and you can look it up for yourself. There are also a lot of different things that you can buy for this. You can buy different magnets and different dent balls and different accessories, so you can decide what you will need and just buy that stuff. This tool can be dangerous if it is not used properly, so be sure to read all the safety information. The link to that information is in the description below. Here are two of the sets of dent balls. This one goes from 1.5 inches up to 2.25 inches. And this one has three larger dent balls, and it goes up to 2.75 inches. There are also sets with smaller dent balls than this, but the smaller the dent ball, the less pull there's going to be between the magnet and the dent ball. So if you get much smaller than this, there's not going to be that much pull on the magnet, and usually they will not be very effective. The way that they partially get around that, on sizes smaller than this, they have two dent balls of the same size, and you put those two dent balls in together, and then on some of the really small dent balls, they put up to 4 dent balls of the same size in, and that can help a little bit, but still there's not enough pull to get out the dents on some of the smaller tubing. Here are the magnets. These magnets are very strong. You have to be very careful with them. You can see that I stuck a pliers onto the outside of the tool chest that this is in. You need to be very careful with these. If you get your hand between the magnet and a piece of metal, it can hurt your hand, or especially if you get these magnets too close together, they can fly at each other and they can do damage. So always be conscious of where the magnet is. I will show you with a small piece of metal, but remember a large piece of metal has more pull, so that could hurt your hand if anything gets in between it. There are also different sizes of magnets. The larger one obviously is stronger. I'm going to keep these apart from each other so they don't snap together. When you are using the dent balls, you need to know what you're working with, the hardness of the metal and the thickness of the metal. Also, if you're using the larger dent balls, you're probably a lot of times going to want to use the smaller magnet, and that's because the larger balls have more pull on them. And if you use the large magnet with the large balls, a lot of times that can be too much pull and it can make a mess out of the metal. And if you're using some of the smaller balls, you will probably usually want to use the larger magnet. These magnets have caps on them, and that's to help protect the magnet. It also gives a little more distance between the magnet and anything else that might stick to it. Another thing that determines the strength of the pull towards the magnet is how far away it is. The farther away, the less pull. The closer, the more pull. So if you can keep things a little farther away, there will be a lot less pull to the magnet. When you run these magnets back and forth across a brass instrument, it does scratch the lacquer. So the way that you deal with that is you can use a drum head. In the bottom of this here, there are some drum heads. You just put a drum head between the magnet and the instrument. That helps protect the lacquer when you're using the magnetic dent balls. The magnets come with a flat head, and they also come with a curved head. The curved head works better for the inside of bell bows. The magnet with the curved head works better for the inside of bell bows and the curved tubing. The magnet with the flat head works better for the outside of the bell bows and also the straight portions of tubing. One of the advantages of the magnetic dent removal system is that you do not need to take the instrument apart, and it is a lot of work to take apart a tuba. However, there are a lot of limitations on the dents that you can remove without taking the instrument apart. I colored this tuba in green where the magnetic dent system works very well to get dents out without taking the tuba apart. And don't worry, the screen will come off very easily. And on the bell, you do not see any green. Usually, if you can get the dents out with a dent rod, that's a better way to get the dents out. So the bell flare, you use a roller on that. And then from here to here, where you can reach with the dent rods, usually it's best to use the dent rods on that. The magnetic dent system does not work at all on the small valve tubing. The tubing underneath here you could get with the magnetic dent system, other than there's this tubing in the way, so the magnets cannot get close enough for the dent balls to do their work underneath here. And then if I flip over the tuba, there's some more tubing. It does not work at all on a lead pipe or this type of small tubing. This tubing is too small to fit the 1¼ ball in, but if you have the dent balls that are smaller than 1¼ inch, you can get some of this out with the dent removal system. On the bow, the dent removal system does work very well on a lot of this. You can see that I did not color this part of the metal green, and that's because there's a ferrule here, and that makes this metal stronger. So if it does get a dent in it, the magnetic dent removal system will have a hard time getting these dents out. It will work a little bit, but it will not work well on this. Right here on the bow guard, you can see that that is not colored in green, and that's for the same reason as with the ferrule. It is hard to get dents underneath this bow guard because that provides extra strength. So if there is a dent in it, it has a hard time pulling it out. But it does work somewhat, but it does not work well. Right here, it's hard to see with the green on here, but there are some pretty significant dents, and the magnetic dent system will work very well on these dents. And then if I move up the tuba a little bit, right here, it works very well up to around the corner, and then a few spots right in here, but there's so much tubing here and the bell is in the way so that it will be very hard to get the magnets in there, but you can get it in there somewhat. There are several dents here. On this tuba, those dents are pretty bad, so those will be harder to get out, but the smaller dents in this area are usually easy to get out with the magnetic dent system. And again, underneath this tubing will be hard to get, and also underneath this tubing will be hard to get. So if you wanted to get dents out underneath here, you'd need to remove some solder joints and then take the tubing off, and then you could get under there with the dent removal system. Taking this tubing off and using the magnetic dent system would be far easier than removing the bow, getting the dents out with a rod, and then soldering the bow back on. On this particular tuba, since this tubing is smashed in so far, the dent system will probably not work well on this, and I'll probably need to remove the bell bow anyway, and then get the dents out with a rod. So in this particular tuba, I probably would not use the dent system much at all because I would already have the bell bow off, and then I would get the dents out that way. Some technicians would unsolder and remove the bell bow, and then they would use the magnetic dent system to get the dents out in this area of the instrument. Either way is fine. It all depends on what you're more comfortable with and which one works better for you. I got the green off the tuba, and it may have surprised you how little bit of green there was on this tuba. This is a very small bore tuba. If I had a larger bore tuba, there would have been a lot more green on it. And also if I had a sousaphone, there would be a lot of green on it. The magnetic dent system works very well on sousaphones. Usually, where the dent removal system can get in easily, there are more dents in that area because it's more exposed on the instrument, and there are usually fewer dents underneath where the dent removal system cannot get easily. The magnetic dent removal system works very well on some dents, but it is very limited also, so keep that in mind if you're planning on buying one. If you work on a lot of low brass instruments, I definitely suggest that you get one of these. I hope this video helps you decide if it is worth the cost for the amount of dents that you can remove. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more band instrument repair videos, and look in the description below for links to related videos.